Greetings, students, and welcome to another fun-filled day here at
Horror in the Halls.
What's up, kids, and welcome to Horror in the Halls. I'm Bob, aka Mr. Holland.
And I'm Jenny, aka Mrs. Hill.
And we're just two high school teachers educating the masses on the spooky stuff we love. And as all teachers know, May sucks with all the state testing, the finals, and really all the apathy on the students' part. So in honor of all that, the lesson plan for May is Hell Month. So in this week's lesson, we have such shites to show you as we delve into 1988's Hellbound Hellraiser 2. Yeah, I love the Hellraiser series.
I don't love it, but it's good.
I just love Pinhead. I think he has like some great like lines. Just a strong character.
Mm-hmm.
And for I'm a big fan of practical effects. The practical effects in these movies are awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Like that prosthetic's nuts. I couldn't imagine wearing that at all. But anyway, before we get into all the fun stuff, let's do the deets. So released September 1988 at the Toronto International Film Festival, which is a good big film festival. Came out, theatrically December 23rd, which is hilarious. This is almost a Christmas movie, which I think makes me laugh.
Oh, it's not a Christmas movie.
It's like, ho, ho, no. Not at all. Not remotely a Christmas movie. But it's just funny that it was at a wide release in Christmas. That's like the craziest time to release this movie. The 80s were wild, guys. The 80s were wild. Runtime, 93 minutes. It was directed by Tony Randall. This was kind of his official debut. He was actually a film executive who was like the production supervisor on the original Hellraiser. So he worked for New World, who essentially was the production company for Hellraiser. Clive Barker couldn't direct this one, so their president of production brought him on. So Steve White brought him on to direct. So this was kind of like his debut. He also directed Amityville 92, Ticks, and Fist of the North Star, which is a really early live adaptation of a anime. Probably one of the most brutal animes of all time. It is a terrible movie, though. So bad. So bad. Anyway, written by Peter Atkins. He was good friends with Clive Barker. Of course, it's based on the Hellbound Heart and Hellraiser. It's essentially a continuation of the first Hellraiser film. It takes place right after, essentially, directly after. Peter Atkins also wrote 5 total Hellraiser films. I think he wrote he wrote this one and then the next 4 after it. The entire Wishmaster series, which is pretty decent. And then he also wrote the Fist of the North Star movie, which is meh. Cinematographer, you have Robin Vidian. He did Hellraiser. He did this one. He did Nightbreed, Tales from the Crypt. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's still a cinematographer, so he's been doing things this whole time. And obviously, Clive Barker likes him because he did Hellraiser and this one and Nightbreed. Budget of $6 million, made about 12. It's pretty decent. It doubled its money. Mm-hmm. The scores on this one are bad. Rotten Tomatoes has a 50% on a critic score and a 58 on audience score, which I don't agree with that.
I don't ever really understand the scoring, because sometimes I'm like, this movie was terrible. Why did it score so high?
Yeah. Normally, if the critics is high and it's a bad movie, I usually explain why. It's, it was artsy or something silly, but this one was pretty much in the middle. Although Letterboxd is 3.3, which I think is probably more accurate. I think I like Letterboxd a little better because it's true fans who actually appreciate the movies. But yeah, plot, you have a kind of a twisted Dr. Chenard. He got a new patient. It's a girl, warning of terrible creatures, talking about she basically, Julia's there talking about how terrible her family is. And everybody died, all this jazz. Chenard, of course, as the creepy doctor, takes it upon himself to try to open the box, as it were. And yeah, goes from there. It's pretty much the same story, but with a different person opening the box. It's always the damn box in these movies, which I love. It's like the coolest little prop ever. I used to have one, but I think I lost it in a move one time. I need to get another one. You can order ones that actually work, so you can pop the piece out and rotate it and drop back in. Like, I'd love to have one of those. I used to have a buddy that had like 7 of them, like all different versions. He had the Leviathan box, like you see in this movie. It was awesome. Great prop. So let's get to the cast real fast, then we can get into all the fun stuff. We have Claire Higgins as Julia Cotton. She was awesome. Ashley Lawrence as Christy Cotton. Kenneth Cranham as Dr. Philip Chenard. Imogen Borman as Tiffany. Doug Bradley, awesome, as Pinhead and Captain Elliot Spencer. Nicholas Vince as Chatterer and Chatterer 2. Simon Bamford as Butterball. Barbie Wilde as the female Cenobite. She doesn't even get a name. It's lame. Sean Chapman as Frank Cotton. Oliver Smith as Mr. Browning / Skinless Frank. William Hope as Dr. Kyle McRae. Deborah Joel as Skinless Julia on the Pillar. Angus McInnes as Detective Ronson. James Tillett as Officer Cortez. Bradley LaVille as Officer Kunich. Catherine Chevalier as Tiffany's mother. And Kevin Cole as Chatterer human form. That's like the kid, which is kind of a crazy thing at the end.
Yeah.
But like, great cast. I've met Doug Bradley. He's awesome. Like, he has nothing negative to say about this movie at all. He loved doing the makeup. He loves the fans. He's 100% in it. He's like, yeah, man, I am Pinhead.
I mean, he does do really. I like his voice.
Yeah, it's very fitting.
Yeah, it's very ominous and just deep, and yeah, it's almost like it's listening to Tony Todd. You know?
Yeah, he's just
It's
one
like
of those people.
It's like regal and like just you sit down and listen.
Mhm.
Sit down and listen to what I have to say.
Okay, you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
please, whatever.
I would just cry. It's fine.
I'm sorry. No, it's very good. Very good. Yeah, it's like he talks like that in person too. He's just like, he has that kind of slow, just, yes, very British. You're just like, oh man, this is awesome. So he was really cool. I met him and Ashley Lawrence at Horror Hound one year, I think it was Horror Hound. They were awesome. I got this really cool autograph photo of him. It's like this blue and white Pinhead. It just looks really cool. It's like a shadowed. He's like, honestly, it's one of my favorite horror movie characters ever, just because of the makeup, like all those pins. It's iconic, right? Because really, after this movie, Julia was supposed to be the main villain going forward, like the Queen of Hell character. They were going to totally take the series in a different direction, but there was two kind of things that happened. One, Claire Higgins did not want to continue doing the films. She felt that she wanted to do more like human-based roles, more humane, less horror, more like different things. Like, she's won like Tony Awards and stuff. Like, she's like a legit actress, and she wanted to get more into that. And Pinhead tested really well. People really like that character, but it's hard not to. He has that regal voice. His makeup looks awesome. He has a commanding presence. So they decided to make him the main character of the series, which I'm thankful for, until they ruined him in that later one. When they recast him with that goofy looking dude, looks like the Wish version of Pinhead. It's terrible.
I didn't. The Wish version.
Oh, it's terrible.
I haven't seen it, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, you gotta Google him side by side. It's so bad. His eyes are all big and goofy. He just looks terrible. Let me look up which one that's in. I didn't even watch it.
Funny.
The moment I was like, hold up, they recast him? Nah, I'm good. I've only ever seen the Hellraiser films that have Doug Bradley. I kind of won't watch the other ones. I'm like, no, funny, I'm good.
The Wish version.
I'm telling you, dude, it's terrible. I think it's the 2018 one. Let's see. Doug Bradley was from 87 to 2005. 2011 was played by Stephen Smith Collins, Paul T. Taylor in 2018, and Jamie Clayton in 2022. But that's the female version and the new one. I do want to watch that one, only because in the book, he's more of a supposedly supposed to be like a androgynous character. So I'm totally fine with that one. But the Paul Taylor one, I'm pretty sure that's the one I'm talking about, is so terrible. The Stephen Smith Collins one, that guy just made it look like he was angry. You know, he just looks like an angry version. This dude looks like they did him for Family Guy in the face.
Family Guy.
Yeah, it's bad, dude. It's bad. I'm Googling it right now so I can make sure it's the right one I'm making fun of here, because I hate it the most. Yeah, he looks goofy. His eyes are too big. I don't know. I just didn't like it. The dude, I'm sure he's a good actor. I'm just not a fan. Sorry, bro. You're not Doug Bradley. Give it a rap. You guys are weird. Hate it. Sorry. I'll continue on. So what'd you think? I've been talking a whole lot.
I liked it. I don't really love the theme of like movies that are based in like a hellscape. You know, it's not like something I'd gravitate towards. So, I mean, I thought the effects were really cool. I liked Pinhead, obviously. I liked how vicious Julia is. I yelled at Kyle half the time because he's stupid. And he's also Gorman, by the way, an alien. So,
yeah,
aliens.
I know.
I was like, of course you you're so stupid.
Why do you play the same dumb role in 2 movies?
I know. I was like, that's Gorman. That's funny. But
Go ahead and say Gorman is like his distant relative.
I know. Stupid.
Dumb ones in your family.
But there was a lot of really good lines in it, and the music and the sound effects were really cool. I mean, I don't hate it. I just don't love it, you know?
Yeah.
But it was a good movie.
I always liked
So.
it because hell is not shown as like this fiery pit. It's like this crazy labyrinth, and it was like, it's based on an MC Escher painting, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, I think it was an interesting take on what hell is. You know what I mean? Not like just a big fiery pit. You see it all the time. It's like just just holes of boiling lava and souls and people screaming. This one was like a much colder, like darker. Just I think it was interesting.
Well, it's meant to be like your own personal hell.
Yeah.
Like what is it that you suck at, and like, and what kind of horrible person are you? Let's play on that and make you suffer for eternity.
100%. It's
But
cool because go ahead.
the
Sorry.
labyrinth part was really not cool, or was really cool because it reminded me of Labyrinth, like the movie, because when she's looking for the baby and like they're like all upside down and like up right side up, like, but that's what it reminded me of.
They're probably both inspired by Escher, I would assume.
I'm sure
Most labyrinths come from him. It always makes me laugh because like we watch Supernatural a lot, and I think Supernatural's hell and heaven both have this same idea that it's like doorways and pathways to your individual hell or heaven, right? But everything else is like this big dark labyrinth, and that's how like a lot of newer shows take it, which I think is cool. Like I like the idea of something different, right? In the 80s, every time you see hell in a movie, it's like fire and these red demons, and these are like, no, we look like S&M workers, and there's whips and chains and hooks and blades and crazy stuff. I thought always liked it. It was different, very goth and British, I guess. Very Clive Barker, which I like.
Yeah, I like that it started off with the kind of a recap of what happened, because I remember watching Hellraiser, but I don't remember all the details. So I had to like read a synopsis, and then the movie actually gives you some information. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, this helped. But I liked how it started with that. Let me see. Like I said, there's a lot of really fun quotes too in the movie that I really liked. The first one being they're in the hospital with all the mental patients, and one of them's like 105 years and he still doesn't know my name. Like he's so frustrated. I was like, that's funny. Oh no.
That's some good writing, I think. He does a good job on these. It's the quote, I think Pinhead, he has great quotes too, but all of them, these movies remind me a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street, just like the one-line quotables. Although they're not so much as funny as they are creepy. But Pinhead's kind of scary just for that. Like some of the things he says in this movie and other ones, you're just like, oh, dang.
Yeah, like we have eternity to know your flesh. Like he's fine if you run away. He's like, I got eternity to figure that out.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I'll
just
find
keep
you. It's
running.
Cool. Go explore. Like he tells her, please explore. I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Like he's just letting you go. It's fine, which I like. I think it's really, again, it's an interesting take. He's like, there's no rush to torture you.
He's got plenty of time. So.
Yeah, forever. I like that he's like considered the priest of hell, because like the word Cenobite apparently means a member of a monastic order. So they're kind of like those Cenobites, because there's a bunch more. Like there's whole comics and like other stories that Clive Barker has written to really expand this world. Exponentially expand this world, really. There's like a whole Leviathan has a sister. Like he's really built a whole mythos around these characters in this first book, which is really cool.
I thought it was really cool that in the movie that they made the hospital seem more like hell than the actual hell was.
Yes. God, it was terrible.
I was like, yeah, he was. And like when it was showing all the people down, like, I guess like in a basement setting, possibly.
Yeah.
And he's like opening the doors and they're like all like horribly like just messed up, like feeling bugs on their skin and like screaming, and there was like the hissing sounds of like all the steam coming out of like the pipes and things, and I'm like, this is what hell is right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Hell on
100%.
earth. And
100%.
then like you would almost be better off to be in actual hell at that point.
Pretty much. Yeah, because Frank was just chilling in his little room.
Yeah, chill. Well, he had a different type of suffering, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, he deserved that shit.
He did.
Frank
Because
sucks.
as soon as you pulled that sheet off, the women disappeared, and I'm like, oh, you can't get your trolleys off. Can you do? That's
Especially after
terrible.
reading the story and you know like a little bit more into what Frank really wants. Right? Like when you read the part of the book before he gets, sucked in by the Cenobites. Like what Frank's really all about. That's probably terrible for him, which I think is great. He deserved it.
Oh
Well,
yeah, I haven't read the book yet, but like that, Frank, I was like, Frank deserved all that. That is like the best hell for him. So
yeah, he's terrible.
yeah.
Terrible human being.
And the way he got Kirsty down there and the reason, I was like, you are just the most vile person ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, ugh. So anyway.
Creepy.com.
Sorry, I just had to mention that before I forgot to say it.
Oh, you're fine. A little fun fact on that. The patient with the bugs, the one that you see in that scene and also on the mattress scene later, he's actually the actor who plays Skinless Frank in the original movie. And he's also the skinless who she thinks is her dad in that hospital I Am in Hell, Help Me scene. It's the same guy.
Oh, okay.
But because he did so much makeup work as the skinless versions of those characters, they let him have a, his act, it's actually him, less prosthetics role. So that character is him in all three. He plays those three characters.
Okay.
Which is cool. He's really into it. Apparently when he was in that scene with the mattress, when he's cutting himself with the razor blade, like he really left lines on his chest. He was cutting himself so hard. Like he was into it. He's a good actor, apparently. But yeah, he's the mental patient. He's also the skinless figure in this movie at the beginning. And then he played Frank in the original because he was so skinny and the body makeup worked perfectly to make him look like he was like the skinless version of that other character.
Okay.
But apparently, like, based on some behind the scenes stuff, he enjoyed getting put in that makeup, but it took forever because it's a full body makeup.
Yeah, that whole makeup, that's all makeup?
Yeah. Well, it's prosthetics and makeup.
Yeah. I thought that was super well done. I was like, it was almost like it's accurate too. Like you could see all the like the ligaments and like the muscles and stuff. I was like, that's pretty cool. They did a good job on that.
Yeah, if you look at it before they cover it in KY jelly, it's even got the same like tone of color, like some of the blues and whites and yellows that you see in an anatomical human body. It's pretty spot on. They did a really good job.
Yeah, they did.
I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, in my research, and I was looking. I'm like, dude, before they ruin that with the red KY, that's really good makeup and prosthetics on the back. I mean, it looks like some stuff from the anatomy books when I taught biology. So I was like, that's pretty crazy, which I like. I like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things in the movie and a lot of things that I was like, why would you do that? I did like the part where Tiffany was. Where Chenard brought Tiffany in to actually open the box.
Yeah.
And she opens it, and the female Cenobite was about to, like, just freaking, like, tear her to pieces.
Yeah.
And Pinhead was like, no, stop. And she's like, no? Like, why? Like, why are you telling me no? And he was like, we're not here. Did he say because of hands? I can't remember. Like,
yeah, he
all
says
it was
it's not hands that called us here. It was desire.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's pretty freaking great. Like, you just kind of left her alone. They were like, we just know that she opened the box, but she's not really the one who wanted to open the box. I was like, that was pretty cool. I liked that.
I liked it and didn't like it as a fan of the original because in the original, Kirsty kind of does the same thing. Like, she just opens the box because, like, Kirsty's just playing with it. And they're like, oh, you opened the box, we're coming for you. They even mention it this time. It's like last time you didn't know what opening the box did. This time you didn't open the box. So I'm like, well, how come you chased her down, but not the little girl who was just there to open the box?
I don't know. I just liked it.
It was cool, though. It shows how much authority Pinhead has.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing you learn in like some of the comics. Even though he's not like, because there's a whole other Cenobite that's like the general who leads all of Hell's armies. But Pinhead is Leviathan's favorite because he knows his mindset the most. That's why he's like the high priest of Hell.
Okay.
like almost like the Pope. Pinhead's like the Pope of hell. He's like, yeah, I got
Interesting.
God's ear. What's up? But yeah, like
I don't
there's,
know. I haven't seen the first one in a long time, so I don't really recall. Like, I know she opened the box, but hers was out of curiosity, though, wasn't it?
I believe so. And that and getting her dad. I think
Well,
she
so there was
intentionally did it.
motivation to open it,
Yeah,
whereas Tiffany, there was no motivation. It was just, I'm gonna solve this puzzle.
yeah. Chenard put me here. I'm gonna open it, which makes
Yeah,
sense.
because
Yeah,
because at that point she was almost just like catatonic. There's all she did was work on puzzles. So
yeah,
I think that's why they chose that type of character. And that's why
probably
they went after her halfway through, because she started to get her old self back. And so there was motivation. So I think that's what happened. So it
makes
makes it
sense.
in the writing, it makes sense.
She was just kind of
So
void.
yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah,
So
and this one's pretty cool because like even though Clive Barker didn't come back, almost all of the original crew returned. Like
it's
from
cool.
like makeup guys, sound guys, cinematographer. It was almost the entire original crew returned. Clive Barker was working on Nightbreed at the time. He was directing Nightbreed. So, but he was a producer of this movie. Apparently, he was very hands on, with the writing and the pre-production stuff that he could be part of because he couldn't be there for this. Originally, it was totally different though. Andrew Robinson, he plays Larry Cotton in the original Hellraiser. It was supposed to be when Kirsty goes to Frank's hell that Larry was attached to him, and they were almost like Siamese twins kind of vibe.
Mhm.
But he did not want to do that role again, so they had to rewrite the whole script.
Interesting.
I think it's kind of cool though. I mean, I wish he would have come back. It'd have been a totally different movie. But then the writer said he was kind of glad that he didn't, because he didn't think it made sense that Frank would be in hell. Not Frank, sorry, but Larry would be in hell. Frank 100% deserves to go to hell.
Yeah. That's what I was saying at the beginning of the movie, because I'm like, she was talking about her dad, and I'm like, why would it be your dad though?
Yeah.
Like, it makes more sense but I mean, I guess if you're that distraught and that heartbroken, that's probably what you would think. But
But yeah,
I
this
don't
is
know.
taking it from like a Christian mindset that good people go to heaven. But like if
Yeah,
Frank made a deal and they pulled his soul to hell, I mean, that would make sense. Like, Frank would essentially seems like the person that would sell his own brother out
that's true.
to get a
Yes,
little bit of something.
because he's terrible. He's a terrible human.
Yeah, he sucks at life. He got everything he
But
deserved.
yes, he did. That hell was like, it was very weird. I was like, when she's walking through, I'm like, what is it like? It's like a mausoleum. But
Yeah.
then, like, all those little drawers kept coming out, and there's like women underneath, and I'm like, but when she pulled the sheet back and they disappeared, I was like, okay, that's really strange.
Yeah.
And then he popped up, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, it makes sense. It's like teasing him for like eternity. Like this is what you could have had, but you can't.
Yeah, that's what you get. You
Yeah,
piece of shit. Yeah, he
yeah,
sucks.
gross.
I loved it. Yeah.
Let's see. Chenard was. At first, I thought he died, and then when he came back, I was like, oh, really? Like, seriously? But when he come bursting through the doors of the hospital, and he's like, "The doctor is in," and I was like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
that's terrible." And he's like attached to the thing. I was like,
That's a giant penis.
it's basically
On purpose. No,
ugh,
like the guys would say it was designed to look like a giant penis. It's supposed to be like, yeah. Chenard
drilled
is
into the drilled into the top of his head.
Chenard is literally a dickhead.
That's funny. I did not catch that. He really is though. Oh
Yeah.
god,
Yeah,
he's
he's at the end of
terrible.
the Leviathan penis, apparently. His
Yeah,
name is
like the thing
funny.
came out, I was like, "Yee," like it like a
Yeah.
little drill and drilled
Yeah.
into his head, and I was like,
And his weird,
what's
like,
happening?"
vibrating laughter. Arr, it's ridiculous. He looks really cool, but his character is probably my least favorite part of this movie. Like, I wish he would have just died and then Julia took over. That is one
Yeah,
thing I
because
was
Julia
like,
was
meh.
like just the worst person ever. She was like pure evil.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when I get to the kill count, like the roll call of death here, she has nearly as many kills as he does. Like, she kills a lot of people in this one.
Yeah.
Deservingly so for some. But some of them you're like, that's messed up, Julia.
Yeah, and the Kyle one, I was like, "Kyle, you're stupid." Like, you walked all the way into that room and just looked completely distraught and just trusted her.
Yeah, you just got seduced immediately.
Right?
She,
Stupid.
she was like,
I was
hey. He was like,
I
"Oh,
looked at Johnny. I go, really? I'm like, he deserved all that. Stupid. I was like, dang, his movie has been on very long. He's already dead.
uh-huh."
Stupid Gorman
I know it's what he gets to.
character,
Jerk.
right?
Bunch of jerks.
Stupid.
Yeah, he's dumb. Like, the whole time you're like, "Come on, dog. Why'd you do that?" A fun thing, Chenard, apparently his name originally was Dr. Malahide, which I'm glad they changed that. It sounds weird. But Chenard was taken from Christian Barnard, who performed the first successful heart transplant. So it was like a little small homage to that doctor.
Okay.
It just sounds better. Dr. Chenard sounds better than Dr. Malahide.
I guess I liked the Chenard character because it showed how incredibly ruthless he was, and he was still performing things that were still considered archaic. You know, like
Yeah, he
it
was
looked
brutal.
like he was, yeah, like he was performing like electroshock therapy and stuff. Like it was like, what year is this? It's a little outdated. Like
Yeah.
what we doing? So
Well,
like he's crazy.
he kind of hints to that when you first see him, though, when he talks about, like, when he's talking to Kyle and he's like, we have to know, we have to see. Like, he's so, like, he wants to know so much that he will go and do pretty much anything just to know.
Mhm.
He kind of has almost the same drive as Frank, whereas Frank is more like, I want to know all the pleasures. Chenard just wants to know everything. So him becoming like a
Yeah.
Cenobite was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I still don't like his character that much, only because of what happens at the end. I'm like, you're stupid. He has the best death, I think, in this whole movie, though, which is awesome. He really dies twice, but his Cenobite death is awesome. But yeah, I don't know. He looks cool. I think his quippy lines are stupid. Like, the doctor is in. That's just dumb. And everything he says is kind of dumb.
It's hilarious. What are you talking about?
Like, he's supposed to be the opposite of Pinhead, I guess. Pinhead has these profound and, like, commanding, really, like, scary kind of things to say, or things that are really creepy. You're like, oh, dang. Gennard's just like, I'm trying to be Freddy Krueger. Come on, dog. You're not. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, and it shows like before he actually dies the first time, it shows like his backstory a tad bit, like little glimpses of it,
Mm-hmm.
and how he was at a young age, like dissecting things that he shouldn't have been.
Yeah, dude.
I'm like, you were a nut when you were little,
He's
so
a
you
serial
were
killer.
you were crazy this whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
because
became
there
a
was
doctor.
there was no heart in there whatsoever. So
The one thing always confused me about him is, like, are you some kind of surgeon? Or are you a psychiatrist? Or are you both? What are you doing? Because it shows all these levels of crazy stuff that he does.
that's what I'm saying. It's like an archaic way of taking care of mental health
Yeah, it's wild.
because that's basically, I mean, it's reality. That's what they did. Like they would do those things to those people, thinking that they were going to figure out why they ticked the way they did.
Yeah.
You know, and they would just like lobotomies and all that kind of stuff. Like that's kind of like how I looked at him. It was like he was kind of stuck in that mindset of like, I'm gonna figure out why they tick the way they do, but I'm gonna do it in the worst way possible. That's kind of where my head was on that one.
Yeah, well, that very fits his character, and it kind of, you see it carried on when he's a Cenobite too, with all that really awesome stop motion of, like, the scalpels and the drills and the scissors and all, like, the implements at the end of those weird tentacles he has. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do all these crazy surgeries to you, these drill bits and these blades and all these things I'm gonna shoot out.
Yeah.
I think really for me it's just a bum out because I don't like that he killed the Cenobites. Like, you're lame, dude.
Well, but here's the thing. He was at that point an appendage. So was it him?
Yeah, it was really
Or was
Leviathan.
it Leviathan that did that?
Well, I think some of the fans' theories is that the reason why Pinhead was so easily dispatched was because that he had refound his humanity, so he wasn't fully, like, powerful. Because, like, when he shows up, Pinhead's like throwing chains at him and stuff. That's like Pinhead's realm. You know what I mean? Like, he has his own layer of hell. Like, if you looked at it like from, like, the Christian kind of mindset, I guess, when they talk about all, like, the different layers of the Inferno and stuff, Pinhead has, like, his own realm. Like, that torture space, that's him. That's all Pinhead. He's in charge of that. So when Chenard pops up, he's in his realm. So I think full power Pinhead maybe might have been a little different. But yeah, Leviathan is also their god. So I guess that kind of works out, I guess. Like you said, he is the head of the D at that point.
Yeah.
He's running things a little bit. I don't know. He looks cool.
Chenard was like he was supposed to be ridiculous
Oh, he 100% was.
because you can't really take him serious,
No, not at
especially
all.
now that I know that he is a part of a appendage.
Yeah. He's the D-head.
Like he's a dickhead.
Which is funny.
Dickhead.
Jock. It was funny.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I swear it's the only good part of that whole movie. Oh, man. A couple
That was
things I
good.
want to just fun facts to throw out there. So the Chatterer character, there's one thing that some people got mad at early on. He goes from having no eyes to having eyes midway through the movie. But there was
Does
a
he?
scene they cut out that explains it. Yeah, like in the scene when Chenard pops
Oh.
in to kill them all, Chatterer has eyes. Everybody's like,
Okay.
what the hell is that? You've never had eyes. Apparently the guy was like, look, man, I can't see in this or hear or anything. I need eyes. So they give him eyes, but they cut the scene out that explained it. So it's just there for no reason. So it looks like one of those errors. Also,
Okay.
during his death scene, the Chatterer character, he spun just in the right time that one of those hanging hooks was moving and went into his mouth and hooked into the skin of his mouth. It went,
Ugh,
it went
that's
past the
terrible.
prosthetics, past the fake teeth, and actually got him in the mouth. So one of them gnarly hanging hooks got him in the face, which would be terrible because he gets a lot of
Yeah.
craziness because he was a child. Like
Mm-hmm.
that spins around, you see that was like a 11-year-old boy or something who opened the box and was not spared from the Cenobite's wrath. You're not sure how long ago it was, but it was cool at the beginning to show that they were all human. They thought they were always there, but you got to see Elliot Spencer turned into Pinhead.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was cool to have Doug Bradley just be Doug Bradley. I used to have a bat with nails in it that I named Elliot. It's kind of silly, but it looked like Pinhead. I thought it was cool. Yeah, there's that one. Let's see. MC Escher. Ooh, the cool one. The score of this movie was really good. And when we get into it, the horn sounds that Leviathan makes when it spins around.
Yeah.
Those are Tibetan horns. It's Morse code for God.
Oh, okay.
The sound
That's
it's
cool.
making is God, apparently. It's like, but they're Tibetan horns, which is pretty cool. This movie was going to be way different. Like the script was different and it had a huge budget because of how much money, how well the first one did. But apparently the company got hit with a ton of financial issues. They were basically on the way out. New World Pictures was. So halfway through the production, they were like, there's no money. This is what you have of pre-production rather. So they had to kind of change a lot of things and ideas of the movie. This didn't have the time and money to do it, which kind of sucks. Could have been something totally different. But yep, that's what we got left with. Still good film. I'm a big fan of it. I think it is a good continuation of the story. It's a good sequel. The characters look cool. You get more backstory into Pinhead, which I think is really nice. I think Clive Barker originally wanted to really go into their backstories for all of them, but there just wasn't time or money, so they just did the main character to show that they were once humans and then focus on that story to make the picture make sense later on and then kind of continue on, which was cool. I also liked how Frank knew a little bit of stuff from talking to people, but it showed just how dedicated and kind of obsessed Chenard was, that he had all those different boxes and all these photos and schematics and stuff for the lament configuration. So that was kind of cool. And again, I just love that prop. I think it's cool when a horror movie has a signature prop. You know what I mean? Like they have the box, Freddy's got the glove, Jason has the mask, Halloween has the mask as well. But this one is we have this little box that really, when you've seen other movies, there's any Cenobite could come from it. It's essentially a gateway to hell. It's just a really cool prop. And I've seen some really nice ones, like some ones that are made of wood with inlay gold that just look like really fancy things. And it's pretty neat. There's an interesting backstory for that box too, of who makes it. And you get it in a later Hellraiser. I think maybe Bloodline. One of them, you see a descendant of Le Marchand shows up and they kind of explain where the box comes from. But it has this really intricate backstory that they've created. I don't know. It's got a lot of H.P. Lovecraft vibe to it. It's just really cool.
Okay.
I'm a fan. All right. You got anything you want to add before we get to the rubric?
No.
All right, cool. Let's get into it. I'm sure we can talk about more of this stuff on the rubric side. All right. So let's talk about the literary element. The script, story development, dialogue, character development.
I think it was done well.
Yeah, decent
mean-
script. I mean, the story, you can tell there was some stuff cut and some stuff maybe changed last minute. It's kind of rushed
Mhm.
feeling in some parts, but nothing terrible.
No, like I could follow it without like thoroughly remembering the first one because I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I did watch it, but it's been a long time. This one didn't seem all over the place, which I liked. Like I hate it when it jumps around too much
Yeah.
between two worlds and you don't really understand what's happening because you have like almost like faux worlds in there like okay, this is my house, but it turns out it's not. You're like still in hell, or you're, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like I never felt like I was confused as to where Kirsty was or Tiffany. So I think that was done well. So that speaks to the writing too.
Okay.
um
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I'd give it a 25,
No, not at
but
all.
I think it's around a 15, or between a 15 and a 20 for me. Like I don't think it's terrible.
No, it's good. And I think there is some good story development. You have some continuation, especially when you look at it as a continuation of the first one. It does further develop the story from the first one, which I
Mhm.
like. The dialogue is pretty good. I think Julia has some really good dialogue in this just to show just how depraved and sinister she kind of is, really. Because she
Mhm.
went from like, oh, I'm just kind of like in love with Frank, evil stepmother, to like, now I'm the evil queen. Like, she's just straight on it, you know. And like I said, she kills, like, I want to say she probably kills 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11. She kills at least 11 people in this movie. 12 if you count her, you know, Kirsty wearing her skin. But you know what I mean? Like 11 people are attributed straight to her just trying to get her body back, essentially, which
Mhm.
is wild. So yeah, great character. I go the 15. I think that's a pretty good score for this one, just because
Yeah.
it's not the best, it's not the worst. Script, you can tell, suffered a little bit from having to be rewritten and some
Yeah.
budget stuff, which is not a big deal. But we do have some good character development. There is some continued story development, and we get to see where the Cenobites come from. We learn a lot about their kind of how they are working out in their world. So I like that. The 15 is good. Strong score, I think. All right, so let's get into the FX design element, the visual effects elements that connect to the narrative, set design, overall character design, gore, and practical versus digital effects. And we kind of spoke on it already. I think the special effects in this movie are awesome.
Well, yeah, they're done really well.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
some of the digital ones are weird, like the skull lights that Leviathan shoots out and that jazz, but it was the 80s, so like that was kind of the best they could do.
yeah, and the sky changing, that was kind of meh,
Yeah.
but like you said, it was the 80s and you can't really fault them on that.
Yeah, it's not like it's today and they made crap, you know.
No.
But the skinless Julia, awesome. You know, the skinless
I
Frank,
like
awesome.
how they did a skin suit.
Yeah, that was
I'm
funny.
like, ew. Like I know they did it in the first one, but to see it in the second one and see Kirsty actually have it on and it almost looks like it's her. You
Yeah.
know, like that. And then her she's holding on to Tiffany and like it's like the arm piece keeps like coming off like it's been sewn
Yeah.
together. I'm like, oh, that's terrible.
And that's one thing, one reviewer was like, how'd she get that whole thing on so fast? Okay, you know what I mean? But like, and it was cool to see Julia get sucked out of it too.
Yeah.
You know, whenever Julia's
Well,
character dies.
to be fair, it was very bloody on the inside. So it
Yeah,
would have been easier to put on.
and gross. It's
Yes.
full of KY. That is just a cool story element. I mean, it's silly, but it's cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love like I said, the way the effects looked. Chenard is all full makeup. Pinhead's a full makeup. All the Cenobites are full makeup, right?
I thought the female Cenobite was really cool looking.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be the same
Whatever
one,
that
but it's a
thing
different
was
actress.
hanging, it like the whatever's like in her face, like that's really cool. I don't know what that was, but
Yeah, with that weird like little coming out of her cheeks.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a piercing kind of vibe. It's wild. Well, the original
That's-
actress, I can't remember her name right now, but she had a really distinct cheekbones, like they were really pronounced, and made her cheeks look sunken in. So that makeup was kind of designed around her, but she didn't come back. This is someone else in this one. It's Barbie. Barbie Wild is the female Cenobite in this one, so she didn't have the same cheekbones. That's why her face is more round. Another fun fact about her makeup: apparently hers had to be touched up all the time because she's the one that talks the most. Like the female
Okay.
Cenobite, she talks almost more than Pinhead does. She's forever like just da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, hey, by the way, just talking. I mean, Chatterer's face moves all the time, but it's part of the makeup. You know what I mean? He never speaks.
Mm-hmm.
Butterball originally had lines, but his makeup is so thick you couldn't understand anything he said.
Okay.
But he looks
Yeah,
good.
his makeup was weird looking. He was so weird looking.
I know he always is, but he looks really awesome. Chatterer looks
Yeah.
awesome. And I'm not going to ding it for him having eyes later on because that is explained in a cutscene. Like the box changes his face. There's a whole scene about it, but they just cut it, which is silly. I don't know why they would do that and then still show him with eyes. He doesn't look as cool with eyes
Okay.
as he does. He looks more like Rawhead Rex a little bit with eyes, which I don't really like, but whatever. I'm thinking like a 20. What do you think?
Yeah, that's good.
So I think the sets look cool. I liked the labyrinth a lot. I like it being based on the Escher. It was really cool. All those things are giant matte paintings that they're running on, which I think is really impressive to me. I like the matte paintings versus digital effects. Digital effects look more realistic, but I think it's more impressive that that's a massive matte painting they're moving on. You know what I mean? I think that is just cool.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the guy just recreating a little panel he made in digital effects, like I can do some of that myself. I can't do matte painting. So, you know what I mean? So for me, it's a little bit more impressive. So 20 on that one, you think?
Yeah.
All right. So visual technical element. The overall aesthetic of the film is pleasing to the eye. Lighting, creative camera shots, and movement and lens selection. So this is more that technical element. I like the aesthetic of this film. I think it has the same kind of dark lighting throughout. Even in the hospital, it doesn't feel like that clean, sterile hospital. You still have a little bit of that,
No.
like, darker, like, this is not a place you really want to be. Especially when you first see her in there with that police officer. It's just not like a hospital. You know what I mean? It seems like
Well, and
something's off.
there's a cool juxtaposition between the top floors of the hospital and the basement.
Oh, how it just gets darker?
Yeah, because that's where the more mentally unstable people are. So that's where they put like people that actually require straight jackets and padded rooms, like that kind of thing. And I think that I liked that because like I said earlier, it was almost like hell on earth. And I liked how they depict that because I can't imagine being stuck in one of those places.
No, especially not like that one. You know what I mean? Like,
No. And honestly, our history is pretty terrible when it comes to that stuff, and that's what those hospitals looked like, and actually looked worse.
yeah,
Because you're talking rats and malnutrition, and people were just dying left and right because they weren't properly taken care of, and I was like, that to me is like a little bit of truth to it, unfortunately, but I don't know. I think that they did a good job on that part of the movie where it showed all that.
I agree. Yeah, we used to drill into people's brains for being sad.
Yeah, like you're talking about people who came in there for like anxiety.
Yeah.
I would have been in there.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, you're depressed? Let me
Been in
drill
there.
into your skull real quick. This will help you.
Right? They were like, my child is always sad. I'm taking her to the thing.
Yeah.
No. I would have been in there.
You're never sad
100%.
again because you've been lobotomized.
Like, right? I would just be smiling all the time. Or
What's,
not. Or
what's wrong with
just
your kid? Oh, she's happy all the time. No, 100%. Yes, what do you think on this one? There wasn't any like really super awesome camera shots to me. It's all pretty straightforward
No.
movement. It's nothing like, oh my gosh, stood out. Like, like some of the other films we've done that had some really cool shots. These are all just straight on camera shots, some good movement that's real basic. A lot of running shots, but nothing like amazing to me.
Maybe a 15.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if I'd go any lower because I still liked
No, the aesthetic is
how
good.
they did it.
But there was nothing creative. I think like the lighting is great. I love that. I think it's dark, like you said, drab, and it does show a nice change. The lower you go in that hospital, the darker and scarier it kind of gets. I like the lighting in the labyrinth, how it's like dark and only lit where they are at, right? Which I kind of dug. The lighting in Frank's little hell was really good too because it gets warmer at first, then those white slabs, which are really stark compared to everything else, and then they go away, which I did like that a lot. So I would not go lower than a 15, but it wasn't anything really creative. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whereas special effects, I mean, that one you could almost argue a little higher because they did some really good jobs. For practical effects, I mean, you really can't beat what they've done in this movie. All right, so let's get to your favorite part, the sound element. The sound represents the overall tone of the film. The soundtrack, as well as the score, keeps the audience engaged with the setting, characters, location, and narrative of the piece. Now, this one was done by Chris Young. He was born in 1958. He's a composer of a lot of things. Like, let's see, many of his compositions are of horror thriller films. He's done The Hellraiser, Species, Urban Legend, The Grudge, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. He did Drag Me to Hell, Sinister, Deliver Us from Evil, and Pet Sematary. He's done a lot of horror movies, and I really liked the score of this.
Yeah, I put it on there. I said it sounded like a creepy storybook, which I always like that. But I said that the score kind of reminded me of the Alien movies
A little bit.
because I felt like the score was very ominous sounding.
Mhm.
Like he did a really good job making you feel like just complete and utter despair watching it. I think all the music and the sound effects all serve a purpose. Like there's nothing out of place to where I feel like when we watched Evil Dead, like the remake, and it had that weird siren sound in it. Like there's nothing out of place where it
Yeah.
was like, why is that here? And all of the hissing and like whooshing sounds of like things being opened or like things being like destroyed at the
Yeah.
end and things like all that stood out to me. I also liked the music, like the music box type sounds that came from the box itself.
Yeah.
Make it sound like, oh, it's something pleasant. It's not. Like, stop opening that.
I know. Come on,
Stop
guys.
it.
Well, I think that's cool too because
Nothing good can come from it.
it goes into like the original maker. Because like when you get into like the history of Lee Marchand, the guy who made the box, he made like little automaton birds. So the chirping sounds like that were very fitting. It's what was something he would have done, which I think is really cool.
Okay.
That ties them all together because all the boxes do that. And I really liked how he used that like Morse code for God, but it sounds so ominous that brrr, brrr, it's that real deep horn, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, I like the score on this one a lot. I think he did a really good job, like you said. The sound effects are really well placed. I like the way the sound the chains make, like those flying chains, and like other than like the weird vibrating laugh that Chenard has all the time, I like pretty much all of it. He just sounds weird. That it just silly sounded. But I guess it was a way to make him different than himself, which is fine. Also, it wasn't the same actor because the same actor he had a neck injury or something. There was an accident with his neck, so he couldn't be in that floating rig all the time. So some of
Okay.
Chenard's voices are different.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I would score this high because I think that was all well done. I don't find like an issue with it. So
Okay.
I would say a 25, but
Okay.
you might disagree.
No, I don't. Sound is your favorite. It's your go-to. I'll let you pick the score on the sound. Usually, I usually agree with what you have to say. Like I said, my only thing I thought was silly was the choice to give that weird vibrate to Chenard's speech. I thought it didn't make any sense. But I mean, I guess it separated him a little bit, and his face was all cut up. But it just sounded silly. Like even when he laughs.
I just feel like it was meant to make him because it's like his hell.
Yeah.
Like to make him into something he didn't want to be. He didn't want to be. It was almost like he was one of his patients.
Yeah, but then at one point he said something he didn't know why he hesitated. I think he was like, and he was into it. I don't know. It was made me laugh. I think it was supposed to make him ominous, but it made him goofy. Like I think for me,
I think it was good that they kind of made him goofy because he was so serious and like just hateful to the whole thing, and I think that just was like his own little personal hell to make him look ridiculous.
I can dig it. I'll go with it. All right, guys, there you have it. Looks like Hellraiser or Hellbound Hellraiser 2 will get a 75. It's respectable.
good.
Respectable. It's a C, right? Respectable little C
Yeah.
grade there. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Mm-mm.
All right, guys. Well, if you have not seen this movie, we highly recommend it. It's, in my opinion, a really good sequel to the first one. There's a lot of bad horror sequels out there, and I can't tell you that
Yes,
they
there
get
is.
any better after this one. Although I think part 3 is really funny and ridiculous. It has a lot of good practical effects as well. After the third one, though, the Hellraiser movies, they just kind of go off the deep end. Still interesting for lore, but not the best for stories. Some good lines. Pinhead's always solid. So, if you like Pinhead, check them out. And yeah, guys, so I think that's all we got this week. Anything you want to add?
Well, we can tell them what book we're reading this month.
Oh, yeah, we kind of alluded to it, didn't we, already?
Yeah, so we are going to be reading The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, and that'll be the end of the month.
The inspiration for these characters. So you'll find a lot.
Yep.
It's a lot different, but really good. You can tell definitely have the same tone and vibe, especially if you like the first Hellraiser. It's a different but very familiar, I guess, if you've read the book. So definitely check it
And I'm
out.
also going to try really hard not to give away too much of the book so people will actually want to go read it. So
I think we did a good job last month of not giving away too much.
Yeah, we did. We did.
It'd be hard though because Hellraiser's been watched by so many people. You pretty much know kind of what's going to happen in the Hellbound Heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's hard not to give it away if you've seen Hellraiser.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this happens. You open a box. You done effed up. And now a dude with pins in his face or a lady with pins in her face is going to come put hooks in your face. Congratulations. You win a prize. Horrible, horrible fish hook face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. The idea of that makes my stomach turn.
Yeah. Anything piercing my skin to that extent sounds terrible.
Unless I pay someone to do it, I don't want it in my face.
No.
All right. Well, you want to give a quick shout out to our patrons?
Sure.
So quick shout out to our patrons. Billy Holland, of course, my little brother. Thanks for the help. Always supporting me. My buddy Zach Merritt. Thank you again for the support. And of course, our number one fan, Crystal Hinkle. Thank you so much for always supporting us and guessing what we're doing and interacting with us. We appreciate it. A great deal. So yeah, tell me where they can find us, Jenny.
All right. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horror in the Halls. You can also follow Jenny_Dreffels on Instagram. You can email us at horrorinthehalls@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, guys. Let us know what you think. Tell us things, reviews, whatever. Tell me you hate it. It's fine. Don't care. But I'll listen. All right, guys. That's going to be the bell. So we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.